Got to watch my step over here. Hey everybody, Real Estate Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. We're going to talk today about the Evergrande story over in China, the CMBS meltdown. They have just been ordered to liquidate. We're going to talk about the United States commercial mortgage-backed securities and what's going on over there. There's a lot happening in the news when it comes to commercial mortgage-backed securities, but it's not out in the mainstream. Most people don't understand why that meltdown's happening. Just a real quick recap. The reason why these banks are failing, not only in the US, but in China, is because mortgage-backed securities, commercial mortgages, have to be refinanced every so many years, usually around 5 years. And because interest rates had to excel, they had to go higher because of inflation, because of out of control money printing, margins were completely squeezed. And these properties that were purchased 5, 8, 10, 12 years ago, they weren't purchased thinking in their mind that interest rates are going to go this high. So this is really bad. It's going to get worse. As I get to this story, I want to say if anyone wants to be a part of the Real Estate Crash Masterclass, which is 4 courses all put together, plus the group coaching calls, and the offer that I make at the end of 1 year to guarantee your success. If you purchase any of my courses prior, I am crediting you those. So if you purchase the course, just email me. I will refund you how much you've already spent, okay? So with that being said, let's go on. The story's out of Zero Hedge. The first story, it's entitled Chinese Property Giant Evergrande Ordered to Liquidate After Failing to Reach Deal with Creditors. In a historic development for the bankruptcy-shy China on Monday, a Hong Kong court ordered China Evergrande, once the country's largest real estate company, to be liquidated, opening a new, unpredictable phase in the collapse of the world's most indebted property developer. The liquidation order comes more than 2 years after the company's official default, which triggered a cash crunch for Chinese developers that have crippled what was once the world's largest asset class and is still hobbling the world's second largest economy. You know, talking about the world's largest asset class, we also need to talk about, because you remember 6 months before this ever started, I started warning about commercial mortgage-backed securities and how they were going to fail. I also said that Blackstone and BlackRock were going to fail, and people thought I was crazy. But now we've seen both of them take not only massive haircuts, just give back properties to the bank because they are so highly leveraged. Everybody puts so much faith in these massive corporations. But if you don't know what Enron is, or who Enron was, or what their company stood for, or how big they were, and now they don't exist, including the pensions. Their pensions, people walked away just being bankrupted. So the mighty will fall, and they are falling right now. I want you to realize that. This is just a real estate cycle, and this is going to be wash, rinse, repeat, but this is a big cycle. This is a 100-year cycle. There's 50 and 100-year cycles are big. 100 years are bigger than 50s, and then there's normal 7 to 10-year cycles, okay, inside real estate. And it has to do with interest rates. Now it says the Hong Kong High Court Judge Linda Chan issued the order on Monday after the developer failed to come up with a last-minute restructuring plan to satisfy international creditors despite lengthy negotiations. Remember, a lot of our pension fund money is invested in these overseas real estate organizations. Please understand, you know, when you hear the word emerging markets, I want you to understand that your pension managers put your money in these funds. And remember that Evergrande came out, and China actually came out as the government and told Evergrande, you are to pay back in-country investors first. Everyone else is off to the side. So trust me, when you see our banks failing, it's not just because of CMBS loans here, it's because of CMBS loans that they made overseas in emerging markets, okay? This is gonna get much worse in 2024, and it's nothing to be freaked out about. It's just, this is life. This is how cycles work, and don't you wish you had somebody to warn you about this stuff ahead of time? And this is why we prepare for this stuff. This is why personally I own gold. I'm just gonna say. All right, so it says the judge appointed Edward Middleton and Tiffany Wong from the restructuring firm Alvarez and Marshall as Evergrande's liquidators. Speaking outside the court, Wong said they would begin by meeting management to understand the affairs of the company and discuss the next step. It wasn't immediately clear if Evergrande's forced liquidations will lead to a fresh crisis in China's property market as true price clearing levels are discovered, often at a huge loss. I'm going to tell you right now, it is going to get worse because as they clear these properties, there are going to be a lot of people that want to buy them, but they're not exactly in the position to buy them. So they are going to offer pennies on the dollar. Just like what we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, where we saw their CMBS portfolio sell for 57 cents of the dollar. Now, the conspiracy side of that is that there were offers in the mid to high 60s, and for some reason, the FDIC decided to go with the lower bid. I believe that's because there's backdoor deals, protection out there in place for these banks that are actually taking these loans on, okay? Because there are more and more office buildings being given back to the banks right now because the economy is actually crashing. I know it sounds crazy. People don't understand. Most people, they just don't have any clue. But businesses are having to fire people because they're not selling as much stuff because inflation. It's just this crazy circle that, and I mean, most people are being lied to because they watch mainstream media. In her judgment, Chan said that she had decided to order the winding up because Evergrande had no restructuring proposal. You want to know why? It's because they got no options. They're screwed. That's just it. It's bad. And it's not just Evergrande. There's so many different property development companies in China that once Evergrande came out, they're like, well, we might as well tell you the truth. Or their collapse started triggering these other crashes because they were so on the rope's edge, right? And so it's not just them. You know, there's Home Garden and so many other ones, or Country Garden. Let alone she says, a visible proposal which has the support of the requisite majorities of the creditors. Her decision could trigger further lawsuits stemming from billions of dollars of losses related to the company's collapse. Now, they talk about later in the story about bonds. They say the pricing of bonds issued by China's distressed or defaulted developers make it clear that investors have been assuming the worst possible outcome for these names since the Evergrande crisis spread to the broader real estate sector in 2021. We assume conservatively that onshore stakeholders as contractors will be shielded at the expense of offshore investors and the credibility of these keep well arrangements in the foreseeable future. So, like they said again, they keep talking about offshore investors. Please understand that we are involved in this. The United States is so involved in this, it's insane. All right? Yeah, that's all I can get into that. So now let's move over to the United States side. This is out of Commercial Observer. CMBS loan behind Fannie Mae headquarters exit faces future balloon payment risk. It says a large Washington, D.C. office property set to lose Fannie Mae as its anchor tenant at the end of the decade is... the story got cut out. Sorry, the printing. It's an exercise there because Fannie Mae is exercising an early out clause at the landlord's 14-story Midtown Center with a 15-year lease signed in 2018 to rent 713,000 square feet for its global headquarters, resulting in a May of 2029 exit. So you have Fannie Mae, the largest loan provider in the nation, finding a loophole to exit. Now think about this. This is such a big deal. I got to do a video just on this. But it's exiting. It found a loophole to exit its 713,000 square foot global headquarters. Why would Fannie Mae, a government entity, a government banking entity, need to exit? Why? It's because they're in trouble. And I've been talking about this for so long. They are actually going to cause a big problem for this landlord. Because who's going to take over their Washington, D.C. tower? It says a $300 million senior CMBS loan originated in 2019 for Midtown Center was split across 3 deals, including $261 million in DCOT 2019 MTC. Sorry, I don't want to get into all this right now. All these, it was just 3 different loan parcels. Let's check this out. It says there was also $143 million of subordinated debt for the 868,000 square foot complex on 11,000 15th Street, right? Completed in 2018. The lenders on the transaction are Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs. Okay, these are big loans. 261 million, 32 million, 143 million, okay? It's big loans. Structured the fixed rate debt with a 3.09% interest rate as a balloon mortgage with an anticipated payment date in 2029. The loan's final maturity date is September 30th of 2033. We expect payments to remain current, but we do have a concern with balloon risk. Jonathan Rommel, Vice President of Morningstar Credit Analysts, told Commercial Observer. In 2029, when there is the anticipated repayment date, the borrower is going to have to decide whether they are going to pay off the loan or refinance, which I think would be tough if Fannie Mae space is empty. So let me explain this, because you're being lied to in so many different ways by the mainstream media. This is just yet another example. So Fannie Mae figured out a way to get out of this lease. They're walking away. And you have these analysts saying, oh no, I'm sure that the landlord is going to be able to stay current on the payments. Well, you tell me, because I'm going to say it. They're not going to be able to stay current. In 6 months, we're going to be doing another story on this, how I'm going to be able to say, yep, the landlord couldn't find another tenant, and now they're screwed, and this is going to go into receivership because they can't even make the payments. There are fewer. So think about it. Fannie Mae. Why doesn't Fannie Mae need a headquarters? This is insanity to me that people don't understand how awesome this real estate crash is and how much better it's going to get. You see, because the biggest thing that you need to take away from all of this is, I know most people, when they think real estate, they only think about what pertains to them. So they're like, oh, it's mortgage-backed securities or, home loans. The same banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs, that make commercial loans make home loans. And then when they're getting screwed by the government walking away from some of their stuff, they're going, and the landlord that took out the loan, they're going, crap, we're not going to get paid. How likely do you think they're going to be to loan money to individuals when they're getting laid off at Google or at Microsoft or at Nike or at Yellow Trucking? It doesn't matter. There are layoffs everywhere, and they're going to get worse in 2024. So you need to get prepared for this. This is not the time to go on fancy vacations. It's not the time to wear fancy clothes. If you can't afford to pay cash for it and still have a savings account, you shouldn't be buying things. You should be getting ready for the most epic collapse ever, because I wish I would have had somebody warning me about this stuff in 2006. I had to come up with it myself. My thesis. Nobody was talking about this because we really didn't have, social media too. Get ready, take the actionable steps now to be prepared, and go crush it. If you want to be a part of the super group, the master course, it's on sale right now. It's 50% off for $24.99. And it's down below. If you bought any of my courses before, and I've already got a lot of students that are upgrading to it right now because they see the value in it. And I'm going to do once a month coaching calls to literally bring people by the hand through this crash and fix any roadblocks you've got in your head of what you need to do to set yourself up for success for this. So let me ask you this, what's that worth? How easy is it to take $5,000 or $10,000 and save it on the purchase of a home, or make an extra $20,000 because you're smarter than your real estate agent? You gotta start thinking like an investor. I'm gonna put the links down below. Thank you so much for watching. The Real Estate Ninja is out.